much, Lucia. And as you may have noticed in your program, I'm not Dustin Kim. Unfortunately, Dustin couldn't join us today. She had some last-minute circumstances that didn't allow her to travel. But I'm really excited to share with you the results from our 2020 online or Artsy Gallery Insights report. We'll then sit down and talk a little bit about the online strategies that Hamad from Sabrina, Amrani, and Sofie Velde from her eponymous gallery have developed, and then take questions from the audience. I'm Alexander Forbes. I'm the Director of Corporate Development and Market Intelligence at Artsy. I joined Artsy about 5 years ago to build out our editorial platform, and now focus on driving strategic partnerships and providing market intelligence across our business to drive key initiatives that we're pushing forward. A little bit about Artsy. Artsy is the largest global marketplace for art online. We partner with over 4,000 galleries, from galleries, art fairs, auction houses, and institutions from over 100 countries to help them reach our global audience of collectors. We have over 1.7 million users from 190 countries that buy thousands of artworks from our partners every month. We really believe that building a vibrant online art ecosystem is key to helping the art market continue to grow, to support more galleries and support more artists in the world. And really kind of as a core theme of what we do and why we're so excited to be here today is providing small and mid-sized galleries with the best online resources possible, the best digital marketplace to help bridge a digital divide that could develop between those mega galleries that have immense resources to build out really ambitious platforms, although we partner with them as well, and the rest of the galleries. So also whether art galleries partner with Artsy or not, we do offer many educational resources to help you manage your digital presence, other kinds of marketing channels. And if you aren't signed up for those today and would like to, I believe we have a sign-up sheet just as you're leaving the room. So please do check that out. A little about the Artsy Gallery Insights 2020 report. We started publishing this report about 3 years ago, and a lot has changed in the time since. I think a shift has taken place from galleries and the art market at large asking, will anybody really buy art online of a meaningful value, to really asking how quickly is that going to accelerate, and just how much of the market will go online over time. As we heard from Olivia and Elena yesterday, we've seen the major galleries invest in kind of unbelievably sophisticated online sales presences that are really bespoke to their individual strategies and broken artist records in the process. And now we see collectors routinely buying 6- and 7-figure works on online platforms like Artsy and through evening sales, something that probably was somewhat unthinkable just a few years ago. This year's survey, we had about 1,000 responses from different art businesses, from the smallest galleries up to some of the mega galleries. And these businesses are from 75 different countries, so a really wide geographical scope. We'll dig into a few different kind of nuanced differences in the responses from different regions. And if you didn't get a report, I see there's some up here. They should have been in your tote bags, and there are also some in the back, I believe. So one of the key findings that we found this year is that galleries are ever more confident in their online strategies. We saw a 37% increase in gallery confidence year over year from 2018. Interestingly, partnering with an online platform was one of the core drivers that galleries cited in increasing their confidence in their presence to make sales online. But another interesting thing that we noticed is that galleries are hiring new kinds of positions. So we saw a number of new titles like head of e-commerce or digital sales manager, or even managers for specific art platforms like Artsy. More galleries than ever did partner with online art marketplaces as well. We saw a 15% year-over-year jump in the number who have a subscription to any number of the marketplaces. At Artsy, we're also happy to say that our subscriber growth beat that figure. But again, another kind of interesting development in the market. However, art businesses remain divided on whether they should display their prices online. Now, I think as you heard me harp on about a little bit yesterday, in our online art collector report, which we put out over the summer, this was one of the key things that we saw would drive more sales. artworks published with their prices public on Artsy are between 2 and 6 times more likely to sell than those without. And so it's a roadblock stopping collectors. Nonetheless, 58% of galleries hide their prices on some or all of the works that they publish online. And there's a little bit of a lack of consensus on why. I thought it was interesting that on both the galleries that post all of their prices online and those that post none of their prices online, driving more sales was the reason that they cited. So a little bit of a lack, non-cohesion in the conclusions that they're drawing. We do hear from galleries that failing to post a price online may lead to a conversation with a collector. But when we talk to our collectors, one of the things that we hear, particularly from very experienced collectors with high budgets, is that when a price isn't public, they may just not inquire at all. So it's a really simple thing that we can do to hopefully increase sales and bring in both new buyers and established collectors. Art fairs, unsurprisingly, were the largest source of investment for galleries in 2019. We've heard a lot about art fairs over the past couple days. We found that galleries invest on average $43,000 per year in fairs. Obviously, the mega galleries are spending that probably several times that much in a single fair, but to a small gallery, that's a really substantial investment. The galleries that are driving the most revenue from fairs, as we dug into the data more, it's ones that are really taking a multi-channel approach. I think that's something we'll dig into in the panel, and how you leverage different marketing channels to support everything you're doing in your business, whether it's an art fair booth, a show, etc. But another interesting thing we found is that while galleries spent the most on fairs, they derive the most revenue from their email marketing. That's a little bit different than what you might have read in a report like the Art Basel UBS report. And I think one of the potential hypotheses there is that galleries were saying kind of where they derived the actual sale from. And as we know and heard from a number of the galleries that have spoken so far, many of the sales that happen at fairs are taking place via PDF being sent out to a collector who may not be there. So that is, in effect, an email sale in a sense. We also saw different drivers across markets. So art fairs were the largest source of sales for galleries in Africa, the Middle East, and Europe. As you just mentioned in the last panel, this could be due to galleries trying to dig up new client bases in major art world hubs that might not be present in their local community. In Latin America, galleries cited events kind of outside of fair booths and other kind of fair opportunities as their largest drivers of sales. And galleries in Asia, Oceania, and North America kind of followed the trend of email marketing leading their sales efforts. We also saw several distinct marketing trends across digital channels and regions. So email was most commonly cited as a way of connecting with existing clients. Again, for galleries that have an existing client base, it's a way of kind of sending out, obviously, the new works that are available, shows that are coming up, etc. And we're going to talk a little bit about in the panel how you might go about segmenting your email audience. So you're not just blasting out the same press release to everybody on your list, making that a little bit more tailored to where they're at in their collecting journey and what artists they're interested in, for example. Newer art businesses cited events as one of their key drivers. Again, this is a way for them to build up that email list, that client base that they need to grow their business long term. And social media, interestingly, was the most used tactic, but also the least invested in. So it was a way maybe that people were driving a lot of value, or just getting millennials on their staff to run their social media channels. I'm not quite sure, but it's just another kind of interesting dichotomy we found in the data. In our online art collector report, and this follows maybe as well, we found that a much smaller percentage of people are actually buying on social media platforms like Instagram than you may think. For most people, it is a kind of discovery pathway. So I think about 66% of our collectors said that they are following new artists on a platform like Instagram, keeping up with what's going on in their studios. They might then email the gallery or whatnot to inquire on a work, but they're not necessarily transacting directly on the platform. Online art platforms and events were also tied as the second most used marketing tactic by art businesses. And fairs were the third greatest source of sales for our 2019 respondents. Again, even among mature art businesses, kind of your more established galleries, only 16% cited fair as their greatest source of artwork sales. So we'll see. But I'm going to sit down now, and we're going to dig into specific strategies from these two galleries. So, thank you both for joining us. I'll give a brief introduction. We'll dive right in because I know we want to keep the presentation moving. I'll also say that I think we've heard a lot over the past couple of days at a high level, whether it's kind of what millennials are looking for in the market, how major galleries are building out their platforms, and then these kind of new models that were just discussed. So we're going to try to get a little in the weeds on specific marketing tactics. So I apologize if you do not run a gallery, but we will try to be a little bit specific and have you walk out with something that's kind of actionable for your next next day in the office. But joining me today, I'm very happy to have Sofie Velde, who's the founder and director of two galleries in one project space, so prolific. Gallery Sofie Velde +1 and Wonderwall, which is a project space. We'll dig into this in a minute, but all these galleries have fostered a kind of new collaborative model that I'm interested to hear more about, specifically as we look at marketing tactics, but also the future models that galleries can embrace. She's also the vice president of BUP, the Society of Belgian Contemporary Art Galleries. And Hamad started his career in digital agencies focused on the luxury industry, so maybe some key insights to share there, working for clients like LVMH, Audemars Piguet, Hermès, and L'Oreal. In 2011, he co-founded Sabrina Amrani Gallery in Madrid, bringing that expertise in the digital world to the gallery. Thank you both for joining us.
Thank you.
Sofie, I'll start with you, and I think we want to hear a little bit about how both of you think about your digital marketing strategies in particular. But as I mentioned, your two galleries follow this collaborative model, and kind of pulling off of the last conversation before lunch, I wondered if you could touch on how that's changed, how you operate, both in terms of internally and then also as you look to reach collectors outside.
Yeah, thank you for this question. Like last days, we heard a lot of suggestions from bigger galleries. We are just a small gallery. We only have 8 colleagues, which is small. And but I have a background from my father has a gallery for 45 years. And so everything Alan this morning spoke about, I was there. So in the 80s, the crisis, I followed everything, I saw everything, and I decided very early not to go in the business. Why? Because I thought it was a business with a lot of concurrential fights, which I don't like at all. So I decided to go in a different way. So I did independent research for political reasons. I was a therapist for a long, long time. And nobody knows at that moment, but in the weekends, I flew all over the world to the auctions. I built up the exhibitions because my father is afraid to fly. And I loved my world, the social world. Until 10 years ago, my father went ill and he asked me to come back to the art world. And which I did, but because of the knowledge I built it up in the social and political background, they headhunted me at that moment, 2 months before, to be head of 300 doctors. And what was my strength? My strength was networking, was being open-minded, collaborating, and those things. So I was convinced about the fact that I would do the same in art. And I went back to the art market. I helped my father a long time. By the way, he had a gallery in the 70s, 80s. We worked with Jeff Koons, with Namjoon Paik, with a lot of big artists. And at that moment, he had the biggest gallery of Belgium. He's still very involved in our work about Duchamp, and he has a lot of knowledge. But this was secondary market, and this is selling and buying and selling and buying. And this is not happiness for me because I used to work with people, so I decided to open my own gallery. And this I did now 8 years ago. And we have a special model, and so we rented now almost 4 years ago 500 square meters in a new area in Antwerp, small, not so big city, in a new area, and it's 500 square meters, and we divide it in three. And I asked another gallery, plus one gallery, his father and my father, they collaborated 40 years together. And he had the same feeling. He wanted to do it totally different. He had the background in marketing, I in social work. And we said, okay, he has a gallery in one part, I have a gallery in one part, and the middle area is the reception area. And at this moment, so everybody who visits our gallery has the possibility to see 3 exhibitions. 3, because at this moment, for example, we have an exhibition from Charlotte Bosenenske. Is some of the people who come are people who know the work long time. Jason is showing an emerging artist. And the middle area, the reception area, we give away to artists who have no gallery at all. And most of them are very young because we're going to art schools, we scout them there. And if we go back to what Joe said this morning, yesterday morning, I think that's how we reach millenniums, how we reach different kinds of target groups. And in the beginning, we decided to have 2 galleries and 1 reception area. But now, since 2 years, we decided to be one company. So, and the company calls Sharing Art. And we share our back office, which means all our staff, we share all our costs, all our income comes in one company, but we are 2 brands, Sofie van der Velde and Plus One, because both of us, we have a totally different background and a totally different kind of people who come in or visitors who visit us. And we have but now we are one group, because in the beginning, when it wasn't that way, every client for me, they ask me, is it okay if I buy something in the other gallery? So now at this moment, we have our own artists, we have the online, we have everything, we are 2 brands, but our back office is one, and we collaborate with more than 20 galleries all over the world. I'm telling this because it affects on the way we communicate in different ways. And very specific, he knows a lot about marketing. We have Millennium staff, which is very interesting because we have a lot of discussions how to involve new groups in our gallery. And I have, of course, my own artist, and I'm also specialized in secondary market, in which I collaborate with Artsy, for example.
And so maybe you're the germination point of this LVMH conglomerate that Andrew posited with the 2-brand strategy, but unified business operations. Having worked for LVMH and kind of in the marketing sphere, I'm curious, one, what led you to decide to go into this crazy business of ours, and also what you brought from that experience to the Sabrina Amrani Gallery.
Well, at first I didn't know it was going to be such a difficult business. That's why I went into it. But my experience in the digital world has been key in the gallery operations. In fact, from the very beginning, we've been really relying on social media, search engine optimization, our own website, and third-party platforms too. In social media we use a lot Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, but also Weibo and WeChat. Actually, the most interesting thing I think to share today is that we found that instant messaging apps are becoming a very big trend, and especially in certain markets, and in particular Asia, where collectors, they like to get the information through WhatsApp or Telegram, Kakao, Line, these instant messaging apps.
It's something we've heard a lot of too, of galleries really finding that, taking that collector onto WhatsApp or something where it's a little bit more instantaneous connection.
But it's actually them asking for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not that we, it's you're in a fair or whatever else, and they request that. They send me instead of email.
Yeah. I mean, we found that the more that you can do to kind of accelerate the conversation, whether that's kind of through e-commerce functionality or we've seen I think a 52% year-over-year increase in commercial activity on our app. People are on their phones. They want to be kind of in the back of their Uber or whatever and getting the art that they want.
Yeah. Yeah, like in our gallery, we like to communicate as much as possible. Like yesterday, Joe said, it's very important during the weekend. So we are open 6 days a week. But during the weekend, nobody can open his computer. We want to have talks with everybody because, like Joe yesterday said, everybody who takes the time to come into our gallery, they take time to come and see the 3 exhibitions. So we have to take time to lead them around. There are texts, there are a lot of books, but we are there to be in touch with them, to speak about everything. So it's very necessary. And same, if we speak about online communication, we have the policy that we react in between 6 hours to every mail. And that's something I learned, for example, like from you guys, from Artsy, because you gave reflections about how things going and those things. And of course we are also on Instagram, and altogether we reach, I think, between 50,000 and 70,000 people a day.
Yeah.
But we are just a small gallery, because yesterday Unit Gallery, they have 500,000, so respect. A long way to Tipperary, so...
It's totally true, and I think that is probably a core driver of some of those new positions that I mentioned in the presentation is getting a little bit more focus on how do we treat the online space the same way that you would a gallery. If somebody walked into your gallery, into your fair booth, you're probably not going to let them stand there for a week or 2 before saying hi. And so we really think that galleries need to treat the online space with similar level of seriousness and immediacy.
Yeah, I think it's very important to bring the real world into the digital world and vice versa.
Absolutely.
And that's the way that, for us at least, it has worked.
Looking specifically at email, since that was kind of where we saw the most galleries driving the most revenue from, can you talk a little bit about what your email strategy looks like, and to the extent that you do, how you can segment your collector bases, on what basis you do that, and how you maybe talk to different groups in a slightly different way?
Yeah, for us, like I said, transparency is very difficult. We communicate about prices. Like, for example, if there is a client who wants to have prices from an artist, we send him a private view in which he can see which works are available, which works aren't available anymore. And in no time, for example, if somebody else in the other side of the world buys the work, he sees immediately a red dot, so it isn't available anymore. So we want to have an open way to communicate.
And is that via your inventory management or CRM platform?
Yeah.
Or? Yeah.
Yeah, we're working with ArtLogic for that, which is very handy. So, but also like the back office, it costs a lot of energy. And like we are a small gallery or mid-gallery since now 8 years. In the beginning, there is no time to do those things. So we're still learning. We still add value by that. But also, like our reaction time is very short. We try to be in contact. And for example, when the gallery was there for 5 years, I did research about 100 people who supported our gallery. And we asked an artist to make a big chocolate. A chocolate, it was a sculpture. And you could decide a little bit like Marcel Brotas in Belgium. Like you could decide to eat the chocolate or to keep the artwork. And so we sent everybody a certificate and they could come. And this was a new way to tell them we appreciate what they're doing, because it's not so easy if they come to your gallery. Small gallery once again, and so it's very nice to see who is our target group, which groups we have, and we try to communicate very specific with them.
And how does it look for you guys? Is it do you find it's one-to-one communication that makes the most difference, or do you get a lot of response off of more mass mailings that you send out?
Well, actually, we do a lot of targeting emails. I mean, we send the specific emails to specific collectors or people who are interested in different artists. So if we get a new bunch of works by this specific artist, we try to segment and to send the emails, in a very targeted way. We are also now beginning to explore the idea of sending weekly or monthly emails with curated content, showing works on offer that we have available. And but usually email, as in the report is being shown, it's the one-on-one. That's the most, I think, the most lucrative.
And do either of you create content, whether that's kind of editorially driven content or otherwise video, etc., about your artists? And if so, how has that come to sales?
We actually launched a viewing room like 2-3 weeks ago, and that requires a lot of content building that you have to prepare for the viewing room. So yes, we are focusing a lot on trying to build context around our artists.
And what does that process look like? I mean, I think if you're a gallery that hasn't really thought about yourself as a content creator, how would you suggest thinking about that storytelling around your artists?
Well, actually, we have a journalist in house who is also taking care of social media. So I think it's important to incorporate into your business some kind of profiles that would take care of these things. Like we also have a developer for our own website who is building the viewing rooms and taking care of the search engine optimization and updating the website and looking for different ways to improve and to get the most out of it.
That's fascinating. I mean, those are the kinds of jobs and resources that you kind of think only the mega galleries have.
Well, maybe it's because my digital background that we already incorporated that into the. But I think most of these profiles are doing several jobs at a time.
Sure.
It's not. They are not simply developing. Well, the developer is a simply developer, no? But most of us in a small infrastructure, we do many things. Not only we just don't have a position, and that's it. We do several stuff.
And Sofie, have you found that your shared model of the back office infrastructure has allowed you to do things, whether it's kind of the roles that you have within the gallery or marketing strategies that you may not otherwise have been able to invest in if you were kind of going it on your own path?
Yeah, sure, because you share all the costs. Like we go very far in those things. For example, we have Van in the gallery, and we also, like, our artists can use them, other galleries use it. Our knowledge in our gallery, like museums ask us often, can we ask somebody to come and build up in our museum because we need some extra people. So we want to be very open. It's a way of transparency. We think it's very necessary here and now. Maybe it's naive. Maybe I'm not here anymore in 5 years. But until now, we see it works. It works because a lot of people, like I told you, we had an opening last weekend, and 1,500 visitors come and visit the gallery. And another strength is we invited other galleries in this new neighborhood. So at this moment, we are with 4 galleries there. but there is nothing else. So there are only galleries. So people come there. They have to. It's not in the center, so they have to come if they want to see the gallery. And for the rest, we communicate a lot online. So we have Instagram. We do a lot of Skypes. We call a lot. We send like small movies about artists. If new works come in, we make indeed movies, and we have somebody in the team who's really specialized in those things. But I think at the end we all control everything because it's necessary. It still stay our branding. I mean, or that the artists still recognize themselves in what we're telling about them. And the only thing I will say, because a lot of people say, yeah, if you're so open and you communicate everything, being transparent is not communicating everything, but being open about your strategy, about pricing, about those things people have to know if they want to buy something.
You mentioned pricing. I'm curious to hear from both of you what your take is on the findings around pricing and your approach around that. Is it something where you have put the majority or all your prices public online, or do you hold them back?
In our case, we don't hold them back at all. It's just like, you know, if anybody comes into the gallery and asks for a price, we don't just hit it. We, of course, give it. But for example, in third-party platforms, we found that the low-end range of prices for us works very well if we put them visible. But for higher-end prices, they might be intimidating for some users. So we prefer to not show them. And if we get an inquiry, then we can, you know, offer a PDF with a broad range of works with different prices. So, you know, we skip that intimidation.
What do you find is the kind of break point in that price?
Between $5,000 and $8,000 US.
Okay. Sofie?
We show them. Yeah. So the reception area is the area in which you can find young talents. So the prices are maximum 2,500. And for us, it's important the threshold is low. So that's why we show the prices. Sorry. But at this moment, for example, in our exhibition, we have a work from 40,000 euro. People can see it as well. So everything is there. We have texts, we have books, we have all information they need if they want to know.
Yeah, it was actually a really surprising finding to me because I hear that you know, it makes sense to show a range of prices, but to hear from a lot of kind of people that are spending upwards of 6 figures on art a year that they really care about, that was still interesting to me. But I think it is specific to the gallery, to the program, et cetera, particularly if your artists have maybe a wide range of works. It's not so set.
Yeah, some artists, they have works in the $500 US up to $250,000. So, I mean, yeah, it's a broad range, and it depends on every artist. And I think every gallery has a different policy and a different, because every gallery has a different personality. It shows and reflects also in the pricing policy.
Yeah. If you were, since both of you started relatively recently, if you were kind of thinking about how to build up your email list or your social media following today, or to the extent, you know, I'm sure you're still trying to do that every day, what have you found that's worked the best in order to do that?
To
build your audience, particularly of collectors.
For us, social media was very important. We put a lot of effort in the very early years into social media. The gallery was very young and not well known, so it was a very easy way to gain a lot of visibility for a very small investment.
And is that Instagram, or have you found that different platforms serve different purposes?
Well, Instagram is pretty new.
Okay.
But yeah, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram.
Do you see that certain platforms convert better than others?
Absolutely, Instagram converts a lot more than any other. Actually, yes, we sold last week one work through Instagram, and we consistently do it. Like not every week, but yeah, I mean it's a good source of inquiries too.
Yeah, particularly relative to investment, it sounds like.
Yeah.
And Sophie, how about?
Yeah, for the younger collectors, we reach them by Instagram mostly of the time, and we also have like sometimes there are really conversations between us, and of course there are sales every week. We have sales, smaller sales, so like not. And then it depends, of course, like I said, for secondary market, which, to be honest, is just a way to support the primary market or artists. So I'm not, like I told you before, when I'm there at the client's place, and for example, there is a Picasso, and they ask me, what do you think about the Picasso? In the beginning, 8 years ago, I said, okay, now I'm primary market, I'm not gonna react on this, and which is very strange, because if you have the knowledge, you can help it, but we only do it if they, for example, they invest again in primary market in younger artists, because that's our goal. But for secondary markets, we have mostly of the time we communicate by Artsy, but also, personal emails, because we in our back office we hold all the narratives, which means all the, if we speak on art fairs, then we write everything down. So afterwards we can see who's interested, who's searching for this, and this gives us a possibility to reflect all the time who are our clients, how many new clients we have, how can we support them, how can we reach the new clients, and those things. So for us, you said like big galleries, they invest a lot in this, but I think for small galleries, it's important to invest as well. Because I think we have to really think totally different, really.
Well, it seems
I
like
believe what Alan said today, and I believe it was a pessimistic way to see to the art world, but I think we have to try things. And once again, maybe I'm naive, and then it is what it is. But until now, I see it's working.
Yeah, no, I agree, and it's interesting to see, the biggest galleries are building out their own CRM platforms, inventory management, all of that. Understandably, they have data risks if they're selling $100 million paintings. But it is also pretty incredible to see the quality of the software that's available to galleries today. And I'm curious to what extent like using a CRM platform has unlocked that ability to, I guess, track in a more nuanced way your collectors, as you mentioned. But I guess switching gears a little bit to kind of art fairs, as it's been a topic of conversation throughout the symposium so far. Are you, either of you, switching your art fair strategy at all? And to the extent that you're doing fewer fairs, where are you reinvesting those, both the time and kind of financial resources?
Yeah, well, we used to do 10 fairs a year, 10, 11 years, so it was really exhausting physically and financially. And we decided to cut down on fairs a little bit and do the ones that work better for us. And all that investment that we didn't put into the fairs, we moved it to the online world, actually. And I think it's something very wise that we did, because fairs, as it's also shown in the report, not always give a return that as you expect, and the digital world can return a lot more with a smaller investment.
So is that where the budget for your developer, for example, came from, or?
Well, we already had the developer on site, because, as I said, my background, my previous job, I think that could be one of or building content, or putting some money into social media advertisement.
How do you, and we'll go back to, but just since you mentioned it, can you talk a little about your social media advertisement strategy? I don't know if that's something.
Well, we don't really have strategy as is. When we see that a post is doing well, we invest a little money on it to get broader visibility. Well, that's the strategy, actually.
More eyeballs. And Sofie, for fairs and
Yeah, like last year we did 7 art fairs, but we decided, so we have a totally new staff because some bigger gallery took some staff away from us. So that's part of the deal. So
Not just poaching
we're doing
artists.
well, I think. No, so we want to invest in our staff. It's really, really important because, and so we're doing 3 art fairs. We're gonna do Art Cape Town this year. But we're not like, oh, we're gonna do this art fair. We're always rethinking, reflecting, because we have a lot of collectors there, or some collectors there. One of our main collectors is responsible for the VIP program, and we want to collaborate with galleries there. So we are there not only to sell, but we have always like a process or some goals to achieve. And about the Instagram strategy, we have a strategy, of course. We know what we want to communicate, when we want to communicate. We reflect about everything. We see if the content is strong enough. Like in the beginning, I posted cheesy things, and I have to learn a lot about it. But together with the team, you learn more. And
sometimes that works too.
Cheesy things, yeah, for sure. But not all the time, I'm afraid.
No, not all the time.
So we had to learn about those things as well.
Not all the time everything works. That's why we have to evolve and to
trial and error
and try different things. Yes.
Yeah, I think we've heard a lot about experimentation over the last couple of days, and I think that is the more that we experiment as an industry, get comfortable with maybe some of those experiments not going so well and learning from it, the more we can push ahead. Just before we jump to the Q&A, is there maybe one thing, if you were a gallery sitting in the audience trying to think about how to grow your business, particularly in the digital realm in 2020, that each of you could what would your best piece of advice be?
I would say invest in social media. For us, it was very important. Social media, your own website, and we are now exploring the idea of building an e-commerce platform in our own website. It's a bit more of an investment, but I think it's important. Yeah, for a young gallery, maybe social media, email marketing.
I think take some time to let it grow, because it's not there from one moment in another moment. So I think that's very important, and be yourself. I mean, be the gallery you want to be also on internet or by your emails or newsletters and those things. So you can learn from each other, but I think be yourself. That's very strong. And we use always hashtags. We use all the time, like sharing arthusiasm is something we use all the time. Not all the time, but if we do collaborations, for example, because we see a lot of people gonna use that as well. So yeah.
Also, third-party platforms like Artsy, Artland, or Ocula. I don't know, there are many, and that can also give you a broader visibility for a pretty affordable investment.
Great. Thank you both so much. We'll go to a couple of questions from the audience. In the back? Okay.
Oh, thank you. And I want to make a comment based on what Zhao Hamad said. You do this WeChat and Weibo strategy to the Chinese market.
Yes.
And it's often because I write about art and I also have my own WeChat platform. And living in London, I often get approached by Western galleries and saying they want to set up a WeChat account. And often it's like a smaller or medium-sized galleries. It's not like a mega galleries like a Gagosian or Sabrina. They already have very strong in-house team to do the WeChat strategy. But often what is said to them is like, I don't think it's really worth to spend a lot on working on WeChat, because the way how WeChat and Weibo works is very like you have very limited audience. It really depends on your friend circle. And then I realized actually in the market space in China, we don't really have the third party. We have Art Night and Artsy in China, but it's more on editorial, and Art Night has taken the advertisement, but Artsy is very focused on editorial. But actually like, I was just like, came into my mind. I think instead of like investing on setting up a WeChat account on their own for smaller galleries in China, which they often maybe get about 20 followers, and each post maybe get like 20 reads, which is like not going to reach any audience. Whether Artsy is considering to expand that territory, like being the third-party platform in China to host the smaller galleries, to expand their visibility. Because I really think Artsy and Art Night are two unicorn in that, in the Chinese market to delivering content, and it's very trustworthy by the collectors and art enthusiasts.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great question. China is really important to us and our strategy long term. I think we really do see ourselves as a global marketplace and want to serve galleries in every country and collectors in every country. We have many partners in China already, and I was actually core to developing our WeChat platform. I think you'll see us continue to grow that platform in the coming year and from there on out. Clearly there are certain logistical challenges to hosting a website in China that can be transactable, but they are actually getting less and less difficult to overcome. So it's a market we take really seriously. It's a market that we see some of our biggest collectors already coming from, particularly keen in the auction space. I think we have a collector in Shanghai who's bought upwards of 40 or 50 works on Artsy through our auction platform. So I think it's something you'll see us do more of in the future, and certainly is a key area for the market.
Because at the moment, like Art Night is taking advertisements, so the galleries, they pay amount and for feature, and also they have this space as a poster on the feature, which I think really works. But Artsy is very editorial driven without any advertisement. But I think you are also in a very good position to be very commercialized in that sense, and then taking galleries like a host page. And I think that will work for galleries better than setting their own platform.
Yeah, no, I have a lot of respect for what ArtNet has done, and they were very early going into China and setting up also a mini program for their galleries. I think it's a great platform. We are starting to post more commercial content on the WeChat. We've launched collections on the website as well to bring together like slightly more curated, smaller groups of artworks, and you'll see us do more and more of that in China in 2020. Any other questions? Georgina?
It's a question for Jal. I'm just interested about when you were with LVMH or advising LVMH, if their pricing transparency policy was the same as in the art market. How does it work?
LVMH.
LVMH. When you advised, I think, various luxury goods.
No, I worked for them, building
yeah.
digital content.
Oh, right.
But
so you didn't go into how their pricing.
No, I
Okay.
was not advising, unfortunately.
I think it is an interesting parallel, though, when you look at some of the major fashion houses and they really leverage their personal website, brand website as a pure kind of brand expression, what they're about. It's much more about that inspiration, the storytelling, the narrative around the brand. But, they're also all present on all the fashion marketplaces, Net-a-Porter or whatever, and I'm pretty sure that Net-a-Porter always has a price listed next to it. So I think that's also, when I think about pricing online, as a gallery, you might think of having, different policies in different places that suit the platform, that suit the audience there. That's something that we think about a lot, is really understanding when somebody comes to Artsy, for example, what are their expectations? They might come to read our editorial, but if they're in the marketplace and they want to buy something, how do we allow that to be as easy as possible for them?
Yeah, I don't know how it is, but in Belgium you have to have a price list in your gallery all the time. I think it's the same all in Europe, no?
But they don't.
No,
I think it's a law in New York.
Yeah, but it has to be there. So yeah.
It's hidden under many. Somebody will pull it out. Great. Any last questions?
Okay.
Perfect.
Okay.
Hello. I have a question. I would like to know what kind of strategies do you use for finding new artists?
It's for
For both of you.
both.
Yeah.
So yeah, what I forgot to say, which is very important, we collaborate with more than 20 or 25 galleries all over the world, also larger galleries. So we did things with Hauser and Wirth. We share an artist with Victoria Miro. And so we always have established artists, and we also have younger artists. So we're working very well with Carlos Ishikawa, for example. But the great thing is we collaborate a lot in a different way, and it depends how the match is and how the other galleries. So we listen. We go into art schools. We are going to panels. We are really into the world, because we only in Antwerp. It's a small dot, really small dot on a map. So we have to be everywhere. And we listen to our artists as well, because they are good advisors. They collect us. We have some collectors who tell us you have to look at this work. And then it takes us a long time before we decide to collaborate, because we go and look, we see the work, we see online, we go and visit them, we have contacts. And it's a little bit like a marriage. You don't marry every day, so we have to see how it goes. And also, we're open. We're open about for feedback from other galleries, because that's, of course, we believe in those things. So.
Yeah, in our case, we travel a lot to fairs, biennials, and all kinds of events. And that's the way we get in touch with new artists, mainly, more than, researching in the internet. You research in the internet once you already got in touch with some artists that you are interested with. But it's mainly biennials, art fairs. Before opening the art fair, once you install your booth, then you make a tour around the fair, and you might find something interesting, or traveling to going with one of our artists, for example, who has a museum show, and in the same museum there's other group shows or solo shows, and you get in touch with these artists like that. In our case,
Sometimes we check with other galleries, like we have this artist. Do you think it's something for the market in USA? What do you think? How do you reflect about this? And which gallery you think is best for this artist? So we have, a lot of galleries we are very open with. So collaborating is not only selling and buying and sending each other's, some work. So I think that's also necessary.
Great. Thank you both.
Thank you, Alex, coming directly from the page, actually. Talking about fairs, and thank you, Sofie, for this new talk. And so now we welcome our last panelists. So I think they are somewhere at the back. We have to. Okay. Thank you, the three of you.